Good morning this holiday weekend. I hope that you're doing well. Um, I wanted to talk about a concern that I have with the Judge program, actually, the Magic the Gathering Judge program. And it's not a concern that has anything to do with their acceptance of judges in their program harassing me online by their definition. This is a bigger concern. This is a concern that everyone should know. This is something that everyone should know about. This is something that goes towards safety of players, the player safety, specifically minors in this game, which I would guess it represents a huge portion, many millions of players under 18, many in their 12 to 13 range, even 8, 9, 10. I had a viewer reach out to me with some concerns. He has a couple of daughters, and he had asked what I thought was a very fair question of the Judge program. And I've redacted his name to protect him, but I have the original. Conversation. Let's take a look at it. So he had reached out to the Judge chat and asked, do Magic judges at any level have child abuse clearance checks? I have a teenager wanting to join local organized play. Totally fair question to ask. Their reply, it will depend on local regulations and requirements. If it is something that concerns you, you should talk to your local store about it. This person replies, thanks, I did. Although my state requires such background checks for professional or volunteer services with children, the owner and organizer of the local game store said he was never compelled to do background checks of the judges. So this is something that may vary from state to state and probably country to country, but certainly several states in the United States have this requirement, specifically for this reason. Being able to volunteer yourself into a position of power with young children is something that we need to keep an eye on, okay? And I'm gonna show you just how the Judge program feels about stuff like this, but let's continue. I assume the store employs staff for their events. It would be up to the store to know what requirements local laws have on it. So this is the Judge's program deflecting, saying we don't have any involvement in this, which is absurd. The Judge program, the head of the Judge program, the organizer of the Judge program should absolutely be in charge of this. This is table stakes, in my opinion, for being a judge. And while the judge coordinators don't maybe get involved in the day-to-days, you have to take a test to become a judge. You have to pass judges. You have to have a mentor teach you things. It is frightening that they haven't had any program, and they seem to not care at all. He replies, in my state, the default functions of child abuse clearance fall under professional employee or volunteer. How would a judge be categorized? Well, interesting. Depends who you ask, right? They are, in fact, volunteers, except if you ask all the people in the class action lawsuit against Wizards of the Coast for making them slaves, but that's neither here nor there. I was a clinical therapist for 20 years. My daughter wants to join organized sanctioned play, including and beyond FNM. My questions arise from knowing strict laws governing work with kids. Does the Judge program have an official stance beyond passing to the event organizers? Wizards of the Coast Customer Care sent me to this forum to ask. WotC Customer Support said WotC has no governance on this policy, but suggested I ask you. They reply, this channel cannot answer to any official stance. While some of us are judges and involved in the Judge program, we don't speak on behalf of that. Interesting. And then they go on to deflect even more. He then asks, can anyone point me to official stance on the Judge need for judges to have a clean child abuse clearance? Now, there's a lot more to this conversation, but it gets too specific, and I thought maybe it wouldn't help this person stay anonymous. But nonetheless, it's basically the Judge community saying, nope, we don't have anything to do with that. We don't care. It's not our responsibility. It's the responsibility of the local game stores. Disagree. You are literally the governing body of the judge program. It is 100% your responsibility to make sure the people who are put in positions of power with children can pass a simple child abuse clearance test. This is insane to me. I thought for sure they had this sort of thing in place. It's really frightening. And what's even more frightening is when you start to look at their actual opinion about harassment, because we don't even need to go into how they don't care that several other level 3 judges and level 2 judges direct people to harass me online by their definition. But let's look at a sexual harasser, okay? In December, Chris Lansdell was decertified, essentially defrocked or fired, from a level 3 judge position. Why, might you ask? Sexual harassment. He was sexually harassing a player, as far as I can tell. I don't want to share too many of the details, but it's creepy stuff. Very creepy stuff. And let's listen to their statement. He's not to participate as a judge in Magic events. He can attempt to re-enter by testing L1 if the Judge Conduct Committee believes sufficient time has passed and Chris has shown appropriate positive change. So here we have a judge, a volunteer, sexually harassing a player, clearly over a period of time from the details that I have, and you're basically only giving him a temporary suspension. In fact, in the very first paragraph, you are saying, as long as time passes, you're good to come back. Your crime was bad enough to basically be fired, but you're fine to come back and be a Canadian judge as long as we're convinced that you've made positive changes. That is insane to me. You have a judge harassing players, sexually harassing players, and you don't even have a strong stance on that. You just say, he can come back. Oh, and by the way, this judge was not even DCI banned. So they can't judge, but they can still play next to your kids and your daughters at events, and nobody cares. They didn't say mean things on the internet, so apparently that's not worthy of banning them from organized play. But sexually harassing a female player from your position of power as a judge is something that basically gets a timeout. And it's this kind of reaction to this stuff that makes me really scared that there's all sorts of more dirt. I know when I release this video, people are going to be sending emails to WotZAsked4this@gmail.com because that's where this information came. I've had tons of emails from fellow judges with all sorts of creepy stuff going on in the judge program that I may or may not release. But at this point, I'm more concerned that the judge program doesn't have any kind of child abuse screening for their judges. That's insane to me. And, I don't want anyone to be punished or anything like that. I just want this thing immediately put into place. And I want anybody who's a judge to immediately have to pass this test. I think as parents for your kids, this is something that's obviously very important. If you just care about the community at all, you see, one, how judges deal with sexual harassment. They don't really care about it, obviously. You see how Wizards of the Coast deals with sexual harassment. They obviously don't care about it. And at least we as players can know that judges who are in positions of power, who may be alone with young kids, can at least pass this basic screen. And, I highly recommend, if you agree, that you let the judge program know that you want this immediately implemented. And I would be willing to bet you there will be lots of judges that won't pass this screen. It's just a numbers game. You have thousands of judges. I guarantee you're going to have judges who come up dirty or who just decide not to take this test conveniently. Clean up the judge program. This thing is a mess. And I'm going to be talking a lot about that in the new year. So if you have any questions, post them up in the comment below. If you have anonymous things to send me, please email watsyasked@gmail.com. I hope you have a great holiday weekend. I've actually got a pretty fun announcement about GP Indianapolis coming up. I may release that today, or I may drop it on Christmas. I appreciate all of your support, and we'll talk to you again real soon. Thanks for watching. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you want to be notified the next time I upload a video, make sure you subscribe and click that damn bell so you actually get notified. If you want to support the cause of this channel, it survives based on the amazingly gracious support of my patrons. Link is in the description if you'd like to help out.